When Hollywood stars score leading roles in box office blockbusters, or musicians make it big with a series of hit singles, we typically assume they're set for life. But even the rich and famous can experience financial hardship. Sometimes they blow through their money, while others invest in risky business ventures that ultimately end up depleting their accounts. In today's video, we're going to cover several stars who wound up broke and destitute at the time of their deaths. Marvin Gaye. This singer-songwriter definitely knew how to write chart-topping hit singles, and his album What's Going On routinely shows up in the top positions of lists of the best albums in musical history. Even though he was a gifted musical artist who developed a devoted following, managing his personal finances wasn't a strong suit. The bulk of his royalties went towards his 2 failed marriages, and Gaye found himself haunted by his tax troubles, which at one point sent him into exile in Europe. In order for Marvin to pay the $600,000 he owed his wife in alimony, he had to sign away the rights to his album, Here, My Dear. Troubles followed him seemingly wherever he went, and to cope, he turned to drugs and alcohol. These vices likewise didn't do much to help his financial situation. On April 1, 1984, Gaye got involved in a fight between his parents where things took a violent turn when his father, Marvin Gaye Sr., shot him twice in the chest. The first shot, which pierced his heart, proved fatal, and he was pronounced dead just minutes later. Marvin was penniless with a mountain of debt and died just one day before his 45th birthday. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. And stick around for more celebrities who died broke. Judy Garland. Everyone knows growing up a former child star is rough business. The beloved actress who starred in The Wizard of Oz fell into alcoholism and drug abuse in her later years. Ultimately, she died of an intentional drug overdose at 47. When she passed away, she was millions of dollars in debt. She was so broke that Frank Sinatra even had to cover the bill for her funeral expenses. While Garland was one of the biggest stars of her day, financial mismanagement and embezzlement depleted her bank accounts. By the late 40s, any money she had was already gone, and she owed the IRS hundreds of thousands of dollars in back taxes. This led her to be on the brink of homelessness, forcing her to sing at bars for reportedly $100 a day to make ends meet. Before she finally succeeded in killing herself, she had previously made several suicide attempts. Veronica Lake. After finding initial success in Hollywood, Lake's fortune was squandered by mental illness and several failed marriages. Even though she was significantly compensated for her iconic role in Sullivan's Travels and made a great bit more as a pinup girl, that stream of success eventually ran dry. Lake depleted her cash pile while blowing money on frivolous things and alcohol. When she died at 50 years old, she lived in poverty. Gary Coleman. If you've ever watched any of our videos covering Gary Coleman's tragic life story, you already know just how much of a train wreck in slow motion it was. He was handed his first breakout role on Different Strokes, and although he was once NBC's highest-paid comedic actor, he wound up having to sue his parents, lawyers, and agents for grossly mismanaging his finances. After taking the matter to court, he was awarded a $1.3 million settlement, but a string of bad luck, health issues, and questionable investments forced him into bankruptcy. In the end, he was desperate for work and took just about any role that came his way. When he died at age 42, he had basically nothing to his name. Billie Holiday. Widely considered one of the greatest jazz singers of all time, Billie's tragic life was marred by disaster and controversy. Her personal life was particularly turbulent, which led her to turn to alcohol and drugs for solace. Often blitzed out of her mind, her promoters and managers would routinely rip her off, robbing her of what little money she earned in her later years. When she passed away in 1959 from cirrhosis, she reportedly only had $750 in her bank account. Bobby Driscoll. Driscoll was one of the most famous child actors of the 40s and 50s. He appeared in hundreds of films and enjoyed a great deal of success thanks to his lucrative contract with Disney. By the mid-50s, however, Hollywood turned its back on him after Bobby fell into drug addiction. Driscoll was hopelessly reliant upon narcotics and eventually found himself in jail for his substance abuse issues. This prevented him from landing more parts on TV or in films. He spent most of his latter years drifting around trying to revive his career in New York. Sadly, he died at 31 in an abandoned building where he was squatting. He was broke, and when his body was discovered, he was found lying on a dirty cot surrounded by empty beer bottles. He died from heart failure, likely caused by his years of drug use. Andy Gibb. This star, who was reportedly millions of dollars in debt when he died, was the youngest of the Gibb brothers who made up the Bee Gees. He experienced a bit of success as a solo musician, but that was short-lived. Depression and substance abuse led to many lost opportunities, which in turn fueled his binges even more. The young singer died bankrupt, drowning in an ocean of debt at age 30 from myocarditis, caused by his many years of stimulant drug use. Anita Ekberg. If you've ever seen Fellini's La Dolce Vita, you're probably familiar with Anita Ekberg. She was an Italian actress born in Sweden who rose to fame in the 50s and 60s for being a blonde bombshell with looks to kill. In 1951, she signed to Universal after competing in the Miss Universe competition. Some of her biggest films saw her starring alongside Hollywood hunks like John Wayne, Jerry Lewis, and Dean Martin. But in her later years, her life was anything but glamorous. She apparently lost all her money to thieves, a house fire, and medical expenses. She was reportedly living in poverty in Italy in her final days while applying to the charitable Fellini Foundation to receive some financial assistance. She died broke and destitute in 2011 at age 83. Mickey Rooney. This actor's career in show business spanned 9 decades. Rooney starred in hundreds of films, including the mega hit Breakfast at Tiffany's. Laurence Olivier once called him the best there has ever been. But at the time of his death, he was penniless. He battled alcoholism and was addicted to prescription narcotics. He also had a propensity for getting himself into loveless marriages. He was married in total 8 times. Despite having a largely successful career, which banked him millions of dollars, Rooney was forced into bankruptcy in 1962 due to severe financial mismanagement. The actor's woes took a dark turn in 2014, shortly before his death at 93. He ended up testifying before Congress that several members of his family were exploiting him and also physically abusing him. At his death, he owed thousands in medical bills and back taxes. His multi-million-dollar estate had been diminished to $18,000, which fell to his stepson. There wasn't even enough cash to cover his funeral expenses. Dana Plato. Dana Plato played Kimberly Drummond on Different Strokes, and for a while it looked as if her career would only continue to expand. But Plato struggled with drug and alcohol dependency at an extremely young age and had already OD'd by the time she was 14. After leaving Different Strokes, her mother passed away and she parted ways with her longtime lover. She signed over power of attorney to a sketchy accountant who ended up stealing most of her money. The accountant skipped town and was never heard from again. Plato claims he stole $11 million of other wealthy people's money as well. After losing it all, Plato was forced to work menial jobs and even robbed a video store with a BB gun. When her other options dried up, Plato appeared in adult videos to make ends meet before overdosing and dying in her Winnebago RV in 1999 at age 34. Now it's time to hear from you. Can you think of any other stars we missed who died in poverty? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.